And a very good evening. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the second webinar of 2021. We're just getting started this year, and we have a great webinar this evening on pathways, and I'll introduce our speaker very, very shortly. As we normally do, we kick off with a couple of housekeeping rules. First of all, this is being recorded and will be publicly put on YouTube, so if you don't want to be seen, then please put a mask on or a furry hat with horns on or something like that to disguise yourself. Actually, no, that last one didn't work terribly well, did it? So it is being recorded. It will go on YouTube probably tomorrow night, Tuesday morning, I would have thought, but I will send an email to everybody when it is. If you can please have your cameras on as much as possible. We do like seeing faces, and it just makes it easier for the interaction. There will be a Q&A session at the end of this, so please do ask questions. If something comes up that's pertinent during the session, then please drop it into the chat. I will keep an eye on the chat and we'll make sure that your questions are asked. This is a slightly different webinar this evening in the sense that we've pre-recorded a lot of the elements because Mary is actually going to give you a walkthrough demonstration of pathways. So rather than just a few PowerPoint slides, this is actually going through screen by screen by screen how you go through pathways. So it is a lot more technical than we would normally do on a webinar, but the feedback really has been that people need this kind of level of interaction and level of information. We will, as I say, have a Q&A session at the end, so please ask as many questions as you can and we will get them answered. Hope everybody is clear with that. So let me introduce our speaker this evening. 15 years in Toastmasters, currently president of Whitney Speakers in Oxfordshire. She's got her DTM and has been a pathways guide, which is why she's absolutely perfect for doing this particular webinar this evening. And also, having spent many years working in a VP role, Mary really understands how Toastmasters meetings are put together and the requirements that you need in order to get your education awards. So let me introduce Mary Robson, and Mary, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Lovely. Thank you very much indeed, Andy, for that very nice introduction. And thank you, Andy and Helena, for asking me to present the webinar this evening. Now, Pathways and its value as our education programme is very close to my heart. I've been involved with Pathways almost since its beginnings. As Andy said, I was a Pathways guide before and during rollout, and as a Vice President of Education and a Base Camp Manager, I've been involved in introducing the programme to both newer and older members. And in doing so, I have learnt a lot, often the hard way. There is no doubt that the programme and Basecamp, the learning platform where it lives, can be difficult to negotiate and a bit tricky to get your head round until you get used to it. But once you have taken a bit of time and patience to get to grips with it, there is such a wealth of valuable learning material and diverse projects that you can use to tailor your path, create flexibility, and with the many choices available that really make it work for you. And I do think that it is a brilliant program. So what we'll cover today is I'm just going to put up an agenda for you. Just bear with me with a couple of technicalities. There we go. That is what I am planning to cover today. So points 2 to 5 are on a pre-recorded video, and this is because when you're going through the various pages and tabs in Pathways, it can be a bit slow. So we've been able to speed it up and cut out the bits rather than have you twiddling your thumbs. As Andy said, put the questions on the chat, and Andy will manage that at the end for us. But I do want to say, though, that I am no expert on this, particularly with IT. There may well be questions that I can't answer, and some of you may have more answers than I do. But we are going to begin with a quiz. This is just a bit of fun. And we've set up some questions in the polls. And this is so that I can see really where you are now and to highlight some particularly relevant points. So with that, over to you, Andy, to and Andy will share the results once as many people as possible have voted. So I think that one is good to share.
Yep.
Andy?
So 67% of people said 11 paths.
And 67% of people were correct. So well done to the majority. There were 10 originally, then they added the 11th about 18 months ago, I think. Okay, next one. Can you work in more than one path at a time?
So everybody's got that, yes.
Absolutely right. Good, well done everybody. And the next one.
Yep, on the screen now. Okay, 78% said 5 levels. One person, 2 people thought there were 8, and 2 people thought there were 3.
Okay, so the 5s have it. There are indeed 5 different levels in each path, building from the fundamentals up to the more complex and challenging projects at level 5. Well done. And the next.
People having enough fingers and toes for this.
It's going to be slightly more challenging as we progress. Oh, I love this.
Couple more still to vote.
Okay. Right. So are you sharing that result now, Andy?
Yep.
I'm going to tell you that not one single person has got the right answer there. Because it is 59. And how many said 63?
7 of them.
7 of them. You were nearly right. This is a slightly tricky question. I said within all 11 paths, because of those 63, 3 of them are in the mentoring side path. And one of them is the DTM project that happens when you've completed 2 of your paths. So the correct answer there is 59. Okay. And the next one.
Number 5. All people are thinking about this.
Okay. Are you done?
Yes.
All right. The minimum number of projects to complete a whole path, 4 of you are right, is 14. And they are spread over the whole of the 5 levels. So well done to those 4. Shall we go on with the other to complete all 10 at this stage, Andy?
Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
Number 6. Of course, if you'd done this one earlier, they'd have known it was 59 paths, wouldn't they? 59 projects, rather. Very tight. 6 more people, 5 more people. Okay, wow.
Done?
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
Right. Okay, well, the 2 who said 36 to 38 are correct. And this is because although you only have to complete 14 projects, all the rest are available to you as electives. So if you want to be really masochistic, you could spend your whole time doing 38 projects in one path. But that gives you the flexibility because you can choose from those electives which you want to do. Great, well done. Okay, and number 7. Okay, you have closed that one, I think, Andy.
So my computer decided to freeze there. There we go.
Okay, right. So the majority have got the right answer there, which is that you do not have to complete a level before you can work on projects in other levels. It used to be the case that you had to finish a level before you could move on. There was such a furore about that TMI opened up all the levels so that you can work on any project that fits your needs. Great stuff. Okay, and number 8. We're nearly there. Right, it's getting slightly more challenging now. Multiple choice.
Ooh.
So 3 meeting roles to carry out before your level 3 is approved. Now, I've never tried a multiple choice question before in polls, so I hope that it'll all looks pretty even. But we are, as a group, we are just about coming up with the right answer.
Yep.
Because the 3 that have to be completed are Table Topics Master, Speech Evaluator, and Toastmaster. And this is a closely guarded secret, I think, because not everybody is aware that for each path that you do, you must have ticked that role box for each path. It's not difficult. Okay, great. And on to the last 2 now, but slightly more challenging. So which projects do not require a speech or a report?
Try that one again. Only 6 people voted on that before it closed.
Only 6?
Let's try that one again. Okay. Don't
all right.
quite know what happened there, but...
Okay. This is a slightly tricky question. The most important answer is active listening, because for this one, you have to take the table topics master role. Slightly tricky question, because preparing to mentor, which is in the path, the mentoring side path, is also one where you've just got online learning and you don't have to get up in front of anybody and talk about it. But with the other two, managing time and making connections through networking, you are required to give a presentation in the club. But active listening is a project in every path, so it is easy to tick that project off in your path, but you need to let your VPE know that that's what you're doing. Okay, last one, I think, Andy.
Yep, there you go.
Multiple choice again. Okay, done. Good. And most of you are absolutely correct. It's the president, the VPE, and the secretary on your club committee. You don't actually have a choice in this. It's the person who is designated in that role with Toastmasters International is automatically a base camp manager. Usually it's going to be the VPE who does all the donkey work, but the idea is that two other people also have access to it, so can perform the duties if need be. Great, well done everybody. It was really, really helpful. I hope that the questions gave you some food for thought as we go through the presentation as well. But if you've got any questions that are pertinent to those questions, do please put them in the chat and we can cover them in more detail at the end. So that's great. So now we can go to the meat of the session, and I will ask Andy to launch the video, and here we go. In this section, what we are going to talk about is logging on to the DTM. Andy, I can't hear any sound.
Yep, hang on a sec.
You can use either your member ID or your email address as your username, and the password that you will have been sent when you first logged on. If you've forgotten your password, or if you haven't got one, then it's very simple. Use the forgot password link down here and it will send you a new one very quickly. So once you have logged in,
Can you hear that now? Yeah.
then the next place to go is your profile, which you will find here up at the top where it says welcome and your name. And that then takes you to your profile, where you can go to choose a new path. Now you'll see here that it says $20 US. If you're choosing either your first path or the free path that all of us who paid our dues for October were given, then it won't charge you for it when you get to that point. So if we go to choose a path, and then you have, first of all, choose your language. I'm going to assume for the moment that it is going to be English. And the next thing is, how would you like to access your materials? Now, I'm going to recommend that, unless there's a very, very good reason not to, that you choose the digital resources here. Although you can have your path as printed materials, which are manuals that are sent to you from the States. I would recommend that you don't do that because, first of all, the number of paths that are available in printed materials is very much reduced, as is the number of electives that you can choose from. In fact, I don't think you can choose at all. I think they are dictated by that. So I think only about 0.05% of people are using printed materials. If you want to have your digital material printed, then you can print from the project. So there's really no reason not to choose this. So we'll select digital resources, and then you get the option of how you want to select your path. First of all, you can have a look at all the path options so that you can get an idea of what's in them before you make a choice. So view path options and continue. Now this will then show up any paths that are still available for you to choose. As we now know, there are 11 paths. Only 7 show here because I've actually already got 4. But for you, then anything that you haven't already chosen will show up and you can have a look. So you can learn more. Let's go to the dynamic leadership path. I'm just going to have a look at one just to illustrate what you can see here. So you'll get a very, very brief outline of the objectives of the whole path. And then you will get view all projects in this path. And this will show you, you can see here, the 5 levels. Each path has 5 levels, starting off with the basics and going up with increasing complexity and not difficulty, but let's say more challenging as you get towards level 5. Now what you'll see here is that these projects, as they're listed here in italics, are the ones that are required for each path. And then once you get up to level 3, 4 and 5, you also have the elective projects. We'll have a look at that in a minute. But what you'll see here is that level 1, you've got the icebreaker, the evaluation and feedback project, and the researching and presenting. Now that is exactly the same in every single path. They're the basics, so everybody does those. It doesn't make any difference which path you've chosen. You've got the basics to do first. Same with level 2. There's slightly more difference with these, but you will get Introduction to Toastmasters mentoring. You will get one or both of understanding your leadership style and understanding your communication style. If you haven't got both of them, you will have another project which is relevant to your path as a required project here. Once you get to level 3, you will have one required project, and that will be specific to your path and is almost certainly not in any other path. But in your electives, if we click on this, you will see a list of the possible electives that you can do to complete your level 3. Now you only need to do 2 of these, but you can do as many of them as you like. So if anything there is particularly pertinent to the goals that you're working towards, you can do as many as you like. Now another important thing to know is that these electives, again, are the same for every path. So you don't need to spend time looking at what's in the elective list. They're the same for each path. And the same goes for the elective projects in level 4 and 5. If anything isn't in the elective list there, it's because it's a required project at that level for this particular path. So really, you don't need to agonize at this stage over which path to choose, because not only is level 1 exactly the same in each path, and level 2 is very similar. The other thing to know is that once you've chosen a path, you get to have a look at all the projects in that path, the total number. If you decide after looking at those that that path is not for you, then you can change it. within either 30 days or 90 days and pick something that is more to your liking. You can only do that once though, so it's not ongoingly interchangeable. But those things both all help so that you don't need to agonize over making your choice at this point. Another thing that you can do, I'm going to go back now to the choosing a path, is that you also get the option, we've got to choose digital again, to take an online